Right. Well, it's a good morning from Australia, but it's actually a good evening for our friends and co-hosts in the United States, in the good state of Florida. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Elise, and our guest today is also from Florida. Thank
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm so excited to introduce you to Jen Hodgson. Jen is a very good friend of mine. We are very close. We see each other every morning. We're sunrisers, so we look at the sun and we ground every morning. And we're very blessed. And so Jen has a very similar story to mine, that we live life full time. And I thought it was really important to have her on and to tell her story, because many of us are still kind of stuck and still kind of, fearful about leaving our jobs and really living the life we want to live. So, Jen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. So grateful that you were able to make it.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
So today, what I want you to do, Jen, is to tell your story. You start with who you were, what you did, and how slowly you started realizing there's something wrong here, something's not making sense, and just all the steps that you took to get to the beautiful, perfect life that you have now.
Okay. So I went to nursing school, many, many years ago. And I'm not going to lie, I wanted to be a marine biologist. So thus the love of the ocean and the sea. But my guidance counselor told me I wouldn't make any money. So I went into nursing and didn't make any money. Anyway. I thought that was kind of funny, but I've always loved the ocean. I've always loved everything to do with the sea. And I've always said that I wanted to move to the beach. But I never knew how that was ever going to happen. It was always like this pipe dream that I, again, didn't know if I'd be able to make that happen or not, and thought probably not. So, again, went to nursing school, graduated. I was a nurse in the hospital for over 30 years and, did my thing. I was working and just started realizing that a lot of times people just kept coming back with the same things, and they were sick and we would just give them a lot of, new medications, and they still weren't getting any better. So I'm like, there's got to be more than what meets the eye here. And just from studying and researching and looking into different modalities, I just realized that there was a lot more out there than meets the eye. And once I studied and learned about, different holistic modalities, I wound up getting a bunch of different certifications in holistic nursing, acupressure, Reiki, clinical aromatherapy, and there's a lot of different modalities out there. But then I just didn't feel right with what I was doing in the hospital. I kind of felt a little bit like a hypocrite, because here I am, as a nurse, and again, we are great for emergencies. If you have a broken bone or you have a heart attack, we're great for emergencies, but chronic care, the same. People just kept coming back for the same things. And I knew there was a better way. And the more I kept studying, the more I was learning, I realized that there had to be a better way, and that the body is designed to heal itself. And fast forward to, again, worked and just, it wasn't easy, because you kind of get in this, you're on this hamster wheel. And I knew I wanted to get out. I really just didn't know how. And my daughter is in UCF in Orlando, and she wound up moving to Florida. And she's like, Mom, now that I'm going to Florida, she's like, it's time for you to come too. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, it just blew my mind. It was scary. I'm not going to lie. But I just I made that decision that I needed to do something different. So I put my house on the market. My daughter had been in school for a year. So in 2023, I put my house on the market. This is after 30 years of working in the hospital. Put my notice in at the hospital. My house sold in a week. I had like 7 offers. One was cash. And I moved, I put everything, I gave away a lot of stuff, kind of downsized, and, put everything in a U-Haul and my Jeep, and we drove down to Florida, and I was in an Airbnb for 4 months because I didn't know exactly where I wanted to live, and then wound up renting in a place behind me. And like, I'm now like living, I have to pinch myself every day because this is truly like it's like a dream come true. Just living at the beach, meeting a lot of like-minded people. And I started growing a business, basically using holistic modalities and sound and vibration healing. It's called Sacred Sound. And it's just been a whirlwind of just needing to trust and just know that this is what I was meant to do. And, what can I say for people? I'm not going to lie. It was scary. It's scary, but I have 0 regrets. And I'm so happy that I was able to do this, to get out of, leave the matrix, as you want, if you want to call it, and just be able to live the life of my dreams, where I basically get up and do what I want, when I want. I work when I want. It took a lot of trusting in the universe, and, just putting out those positive vibrations. And, it's been a journey for sure, but I love the life that I've created here.
Wow, yes. So going back to the time when you're making these decisions, because I think it's important for us to go into the details of thoughts come to your head and you kind of fear gets in, and it's well, what are you going to do? How are you going to pay for this? How are you going to pay for that? So what is going through your mind as like, was there a breaking point for you where you're like, that's it, this is it, I'm done, I'm just out of here, I can't deal with this anymore?
As a nurse, and I was a single mother, so the money just wasn't there, and I knew that if I kept doing what I was doing, like you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. Again, it's like being on this hamster wheel. And I just knew that if I kept doing what I was doing, I really wasn't getting ahead. I wasn't making a difference. I just felt so stagnant. And I was like, if you don't do something, like, this is going to be your life for forever. This is it. Like, you're just going to keep living in lack and living in fear, because the JOB really wasn't paying the bills. Again, they say job stands for just above broke. And that's how I felt I was just, and of course I was always told, like, don't spend your savings, just, you got to live paycheck to paycheck unless, obviously you're making a lot of money. But as a nurse, I really wasn't. So, once I left that whole, just expecting that paycheck, I guess, to come. That was like, all right, that's what we're taught. You go to work, you get your paycheck, and you spend it on your bills. And if you have anything left over, then you get to enjoy. But again, there just really wasn't any money. So I needed to get out of that, again, that hamster wheel. And, the crazy thing is now that I did sell my house. So I didn't get all the money. I still owed So, it's not as pretty as it sounds. Like, oh, well, of course she has money because she sold her house and all that money, whatever. I still owed on that mortgage. So, but, with investing and just trusting, like I feel more abundant now than I ever felt as a nurse collecting that paycheck. So I couldn't do it anymore because I knew that I wasn't going to get ahead. I knew something had to change, as scary as it was. I knew if I didn't do something different, that I was going to continue to get the same results.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you get any messages? I had a lot of messages from my guides or from other people. If I went to a class on hypnosis, somebody would be like, oh, I have a message. I got a message I got to give you, blah, blah, blah. Like, did you ever, like with your intuition, did you ever have this knowing that this is something you had to do? Like,
I mean, I was always like, I would go to different psychics or whatever, and I was always told that I'm being divinely guided and that I'm meant to do other things. And I always had this like drive to just do more holistic, work and teach, I guess, teach people just that the body is designed to heal itself. So those messages, oh, like I would go to like a tarot reader or a psychic, and I would always be the same message. But I always, again, if I sat and listened to my intuition, I was like always told, this is the right decision. This is what you're supposed to do. This is where you're supposed to go. And again, the beach has always called me, the ocean. So yes. And again, it is scary. And those, messages, a lot of times we don't sit and listen and be quiet to receive that, because everything's so fast paced. But once I did just tune in and allow that guidance, it did guide me in the right direction. And, trust was obviously a big factor because, all else told me that, hell no, you can't do this. This is crazy. You need to stay at your job, continue working, get your paycheck. But again, it just wasn't working. And I know just from talking to a lot of my other colleagues that the healthcare workers are stressed to the max, and there's really no sign of it changing. Everybody's exhausted.
They are, and I think that part of the thing of people's thoughts are, if I have savings, this, that's for the future. But will you have a future? You don't know. Only the now moment exists. And so a lot of the messages that I received were about, the money that I had saved for my retirement was like, what is that money for? Like, the future doesn't exist. So what exactly is that money for? It's now, it's for the now moment. And so, yes, we're talking about using your savings if it needs to be, to get out of what happens is, and this is not advice for anybody. I'm just telling you what happened with me or what happened with Jen. We're just telling you our story. But I knew deep down inside that I had to exist within the high vibration. I wasn't going to do it while I was at a job. There's just no way to stay in that high vibration, in that 5D high vibration, when you are in a very stressful job like nursing, or myself, like project management at Disney. So it's all very high stress. And so it's almost impossible to move up to the highest vibration where all those good things exist. So in my head, I knew that I had to be in that vibration for a while in order to get to the things I wanted to do, which was travel full time and just not work. I just really, at the end of the day, it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've done it for 25 years. And I can't, my heart, my soul was just couldn't give anymore when it came to that. So it was a huge investment in my future. And I knew that I had to use my savings to make that investment in order to get to the vibration that I wanted to get to. So in order to be, for example, for me, be a world traveler, I had to go travel the world. So that money was invested in traveling the world so that the universe would see me as a world traveler. Oh, this is what she wants to do now. So there are action steps that you have to take. There's things you have to do in order to move to that place where you want to be. That dream life is not going to come from dreaming about it and just sitting at the job 24/7 with a low vibration, because you're not going to see it. And so I know that Dr. Joe Dispenza was a huge part of your life. When did he come into the picture, and was he part of the things that happened to you that helped you get to where you are now?
I was introduced to Dr. Joe, before I had left my nursing job, and I was doing some of his meditations. When I left my job, I moved to Florida, and that year in 2023, he just happened to be in Orlando. So I went to his retreat, and I'm meditating with him beforehand was great, but it was nothing like being introduced to his work. He always talks about the generous present moment. And I think, Elisa, you made that point, is that when you're in the present moment, that's where the magic truly is. And I think we were talking about this, how, again, if I'm abundant in this moment, then I can be abundant in the next moment, because there is nothing else but the now. So yes, he was definitely a huge part in me being able to, just focus on and be more in the present moment. And, where your focus goes, energy flows. So again, just focusing on, being more positive and just being in the moment. And that's very difficult to do, like you said, when you're working, and you're in this low vibration and you're constantly stressed out. And I didn't see it when I was working. I just was like, well, I have to keep working. I have to pay my bills. I have to, put food on the table. I have to XYZ. So once I left the job and sold my house and was able to be on the other side of it, like, I have never felt so much abundance in my life being without that job. And yes, I am, spending my savings, and I'm creating other, work with the sound and vibration healing, and other things as far as different holistic modalities. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was like, it's so worth it. Just, there's no words, like, how grateful I am that I was able to get out of that. And Dr. Joe Dispenza was definitely a huge part of my growth and evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back, I kind of feel that I wish I would have done it sooner, but everything in divine timing, right? And so, it's what would you tell, if people are right now working in the medical system, what words of advice would you have for them?
I mean, I think things are beginning to change in healthcare. I'm hoping that it's going to be more of a system where it's more holistic. Again, it's more about body, mind, and spirit. We're not just a person, that we're not just a broken leg in room 322. So things will get better. I mean, I would advise people to just follow your dream, whatever that is, even if you need to get out of the healthcare system because it's just no longer serving you. I mean, again, it was scary. It was not easy, but it was 100% worth it. So, I would just trust in the unknown. Just be in the present moment, and this life is short, this time we have on earth. And do we come back? I mean, I am one of those people that does believe we do have lifetimes of learning and growth and evolution. But for this time on earth, I just would love to experience everything that I could experience. And I don't necessarily want to spend it in, I mean, I could have spent another 30 years in the hospital, and it just wasn't fulfilling my soul. So do what fulfills your soul, even if it's scary. Trust in the unknown, trust in the universe, trust that it will work out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes our intuition tells us what to do, and we don't trust it, and we allow the mind to get in the way, because the intuition will always give you positive messages, oh, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be beautiful. And the mind will come right behind it and say, oh, but how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to blah, blah, blah? How are you going to? So it's the mind and the fear, because the mind wants to keep you safe. And the mind is used to being in survival. And once you get to the space where we are, that survival isn't there anymore. It's about really telling our heart, what do you want to do today? What do what brings you happiness and brings you joy? And the understanding that the universe will put in front of you everything that you need to be successful, because the universe wants you to be successful. So it's about really trusting and knowing that you're going to be taken care of as long as you follow your dreams and you're happy and you're in a high vibration. If you're in a high vibration, you're going to receive all the synchronicities, all the messages that you need, all the amazing people that need to come your way, all the amazing opportunities are going to show up. But you have to trust that that's going to be the case. You cannot do this jump in fear. You just can't do this jump in fear. You got to make sure that you trust and that you know in your heart that you will be taken care of, because you always have been taken care of. So it's about following your heart and just knowing that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, only the now moment. And if you have money in the bank in this now moment, and you assume every now moment you have money in the bank, I have money in the bank, I have money in the bank, I have money in the bank, then the universe has no choice but to always make sure that you have money in the bank. If this is your belief that every now moment I have money in the bank. So Jen, what advice would you give people that want to would like to consider doing something like this?
Again, I think you hit it right on the head. You just need to follow your heart. And when you think there's no way, there is always a way. Like you said, how many people have said, oh, well, that money is for retirement, and then retirement doesn't come for them because they wind up getting sick and then they pass away, or, again, they're sick because they were so stressed out and they never got to spend that money. So that money, accumulated, but they never got to use it. So again, I just feel like life is too short not to follow your dreams, not to start that business, not to travel. And again, the more you trust, it just seems like the opportunities come, and the more the opportunities come and you trust, the more synchronicities show up. So it's just about, again, leading with your heart and not letting that, because those thoughts will come, and we get addicted to the life we don't even like. Dr. Joe Dispenza likes to say that a lot, because we're so addicted to those stress hormones, and we get in that loop of just living that life, and it's repetitive. When those thoughts come and they're repetitive from the day before, so that was a huge thing for me. And I learned a lot of that from Dr. Joe. It's just to watch those thoughts, because we have about 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are from the day before. So if you keep having the same thoughts every day, how can you have any change in your life? So it's just saying, like, hey, it's enough is enough. Like, I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't want to, this isn't the life I want for myself. And that's the place I got to. Like, I just don't want to do this anymore. This isn't what I want. I don't want to be stressed out all the time. I don't want to be running from thing to thing. I don't want to be, again, in my job where I can barely even pay my bills, because I was always told not to spend my savings. And again, this is not financial advice, but that this is the choice that I made, is just to, spend, my savings. And I'm not saying like, oh, just spend everything and go haphazard. You still need to, make sure that you have enough. But again, when you're in the present moment and you're constantly focusing on abundance and instead of focusing on lack, the universe will show you that, more abundance. Again, where your energy, where your focus goes, energy flows. So I think that's, definitely important.
Yeah, he also talks about you cannot be a part of something that you feel separate from. So if you're working full time in a job that is taking all of your time, how can you have a dream life? You're separate from it. You're not living it. So I knew in my head, I was like, I have to go live the life of a world traveler. I have to go do it. And I knew it was an investment. And was it scary as hell? Yes. But it's what I knew I needed to do. So again, you cannot experience something that you feel separate from. And I would highly suggest whoever's watching this too. My gosh, the Joe Dispenza conference was life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. And in it, you start realizing what it is that you have to do in order to have the dream life that you want. And it's not staying at your job. It's not being the person you are now, because that's you. Like, for example, if Jen didn't change from nursing and she was still a nurse, then she wouldn't have the dream life. She would be still a nurse. So again, it's about moving to that space that you want to be in. And once you move into that space of pure joy, then if you want to go back to work, then you see it from a different place. Move your vibration so high that the opportunities to do the things you love come in, and then you can make money doing the things that you love. But you're not going to see that when you are in a 3D stress environment. It's going to be very hard. So I would highly suggest that if you want to change your life, I would say definitely go to a Joe Dispenza conference. And and really see what it is that you want out of life. And Jen, as far as your mission in life, have you been able to figure out what that is?
That's a big one.
I mean, I just want people to understand that their bodies are designed to heal. Again, being a nurse, I was on the other side of things, and people are just not getting any healthier, with our food system and all the medications. It's there is a time and place, but again, I just feel like I don't know, things definitely need to change, and I think that's definitely coming. And yeah, it may be a little bit of a long road, but we just have to keep focusing on what's ahead and moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to, something that you definitely can speak to is coherence healing, and how can people heal just by energy work and by others, helping others heal. So why don't you explain to people what coherence healing is, how you first came into coherence healing, and how you're helping people with that now as well. So tell people a little bit about this and how you get into it.
So again, my first Joe Dispenza retreat was in 2023 in Orlando, and at his retreats that we do this thing called coherence healing. So you basically have the healies in the room, who are the people that are in need of healing, and then you have the healers, so the people that are performing the healings. And honestly, this was probably one of the most profound parts of the whole retreat. And you're basically just sending divine love to people, just to change the energy in the field, to a place where people are actually able to heal their bodies. Their bodies are able to heal. And the testimonials are like mind blowing. If you actually go on his website, people have, healed from stage 4 cancer. Somebody actually grew their thyroid back. Again, this is all on the website and all documented and scientifically proven. So this isn't me just, saying this, but again, it's just sending this divine love to people. And he has a bunch of authorized groups that people actually do this, because there is no time and space. So you can send this energy out through the ethers and it will reach people. So he has these groups where that we actually send this coherent love to people, through the through the universe. And of course, my dream, which Elisa already knows, is to actually do this in person. Other than at the retreats, I would love to, bring this out into the world and do this for kids with cancer, because my background is pediatric nursing. And, I saw a lot of kids with cancer going through the chemo. Just the suffering of the parents and the kids was just, it's unbelievable. So just to be able to do coherence healings in person, other than at the retreats for people and for kids especially, would be a dream come true for me. So, I mean, Elisa, I remember when you came back from the retreat and you were like, why didn't you tell me about the coherence healings? But there's no words until you're actually in the event and able to, there's nothing more profound and just more like, it makes you feel alive to be able to send that divine love to another human being and actually make a difference in their well-being. It's truly profound.
Yeah. And so how don't you do it now?
Technically I'm not really supposed to say, so.
Oh, okay. 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 Well, basically they have
join, like, once you go to a retreat, you can join an authorized group. He does actually have an official group. So you can be in a group that you can join these coherence healings and actually, on the computer, you are sending this divine love to people, which is and people are having pretty profound results, so if you look up on the, on his website, it's truly amazing, the testimonials.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When you said you're a nurse in here, did you do much in the way of blood transfusions?
Well, I'm sorry, what was your question about blood?
Yeah, were you involved in doing blood transfusions?
Yeah, I mean, yes, as a nurse, I was involved in doing blood transfusions.
Okay, so in the current arrangement in America, if someone wants to donate blood, where do they go to donate blood, and who then distributes the blood to the various outlets? How does that take place?
I'm not 100% familiar with, I mean, I know here in Florida, like we have these, I mean, you can go to that, like when I came from New Jersey. So you could go to the hospital, donate blood, and then they, distribute it out, I guess, to the local hospitals. Here in Florida, we seem to have these big red buses that people, are donating blood. I'm not exactly sure how they get it to the hospitals and how it gets distributed. I do understand. I just got a message from a friend of mine who is a nurse, and she says there's a huge shortage right now of blood. So they're asking people to donate. I'm out of the loop right now, which is kind of a good thing.
The background to the story. So when people have had an illness and they've donated blood because they need cash or something, shortage, does that have an effect when you do a blood transfusion, when you're taking on someone else's, and they've probably got the same OH positive or whatever it is, or A negative? When someone's had a major illness, does that have an impact on the person receiving that?
Well, of course, they do testing to, make sure the blood is clean and there are no major diseases. But, being the person that I am, as far as energetically, I can't imagine that you can take on another person's organ and or blood or plasma or any other fluids without making an energetic exchange. So I feel like, yes, like if you receive blood from an unhappy person, can that affect you? I mean, yes, we're all energy. We're all, so I think it has other effects besides just, you're just receiving the blood. It's coming from another energy source, an energetic being.
Yeah, sure. So if someone was sick and they had antibiotics and they gave blood, that antibiotic, would that still come into the blood transfusion?
Yeah, I mean, there are things that they test for, obviously other diseases like HIV and other things. But yes, I mean, they can't filter everything out. So there can be, drugs and antibiotics and vaccinations and other things in the blood. I mean, there's no way to filter every single thing out. Plus other energetic things such as fear and anger and sadness and emotional components as well.
Big subject, eh? I don't know why I've asked you those questions. I just felt inspired to ask you, and I thought, well, if someone had lived a very healthy lifestyle, say like the Amish people, and they gave their blood, would they get that pure blood? Would it get out to various outlets, or would they mix it with other bloods?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that they necessarily put blood in categories like that. It'd be great if they did. Like, hey, I would love to have, if I, needed a blood transfusion, I would rather have it from somebody who was more holistic and ate cleaner and was non-vaxxed and, ate organic food, because obviously I mean, in my opinion, it's healthier blood. But no, to my knowledge, they don't, differentiate from, like this person led a healthier lifestyle, so we're going to put the blood in this category. I don't think we're quite there yet.
So no one's really come up with an idea to have a blood bank that's of a high intensity, high vibrancy plasma or blood donations.
Right. Well, I feel like, I mean, here in the in other countries, the food, they add less chemicals. Like I can remember seeing, just like oatmeal, the list of ingredients in the United States is about this big, and in Europe it's like this big. But I think we're trying to fix our food system. So, hopefully, again, people will be healthier, blood will be cleaner, so that when you do get that transfusion, hopefully you'll be getting, cleaner blood in the near future.
Okay, that's me out of the conversation. Back to you, Elise.
Well, that's an interesting conversation there.
Yeah, I mean, we could dive down a lot of rabbit holes. Trust me. There's a lot of stuff out there, and I've again being a nurse for 30 years. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that I've seen that the buses here actually sell the blood for a lot of money. So people are giving it for free, being nice people, kind people. And then that company turns around and sells it for $200 per bag to the hospitals. So I stopped giving blood myself. I don't, ever since I found that out, I was like, nope, you're not getting my blood. So, but yeah, that's beside the point at this time. But I do want to hear some more about the stuff that you learned that I guess your intuition was telling you to go and study what was it? The oils and the other stuff that you went to study. Tell me more about that and how you use it holistically in your life.
So, again, being a nurse, you're in that world, and everything was about, cutting things out and or medication. And I just knew there had to be more. So I just started studying, and the more I learned, I wound up, going for a massage one time, and I wound up having Reiki, and I was like, what is this? And I just felt so uplifted. So that was the beginning of my journey. So I decided to get my, Reiki certification, and then became a Reiki master. And then I met somebody else, and they were like, do you know that there's a holistic nursing certification? So I was like, no. So I went to school for that and wound up with a holistic nursing certification, certification in acupressure, which is a lot like acupuncture, but no needles involved, because some people, don't really like the needles. And then I was really interested in learning about aromatherapy, because I knew how powerful the oils were. And my goal was to get a lot of this into the hospital. Very naive at the time. but I thought it could help, if we could just marry the two, Western and Eastern medicine. But I was met with quite a bit of resistance. Most of what I wanted to do, I was told no, that I could harm people with the acupressure and I could harm people with the essential oils. Yeah. It was rough because I constantly got the, and I was like, there were a lot of things I wanted to say but couldn't. So I wound up using a lot of it on my own, like in my own life, especially with the essential oils. I would use them. I can remember when my daughter, would get a fever, I would put like wet washcloths with a drop of lavender under her armpits to get her fever down instead of giving her Tylenol. And again, I'm not giving anybody medical advice. This is just what I did. But the essential oils worked, for a lot of different things. During flu season, I would diffuse the essential oils in my home to get rid of a lot of them have properties that kill viruses, bacteria, and mold and fungus. So I would clean the air. And I would, use the acupressure and the Reiki on my kids all the time, to help them with, sports injuries or pain or, if they were sick. So a lot of it was personal use. And then, I wanted to use a lot of it in the hospital. Again, I got met with so much resistance. And that was a big push too, to just get out and just go on my own. So now, I have a private practice where I do the acupressure and the Reiki and the aromatherapy and sound and vibration healing. So I'm using that on friends, family, clients. Some hospitals are getting there. They're getting there using, especially with the hematology oncology patients, essential oils. And that was a big thing. Like I wanted the certification, so I had the knowledge and the credibility, because some people were using them in the hospital in certain areas. It seemed like in the hospital, it was not what you knew, it's who you knew. But I wanted to be able to use everything safely and effectively, and wanted those credentials and the credibility so that, if I was able to use it in the hospital, at least I could say, well, I have the degrees and the, the knowledge that I need to use this safely on patients. But never really happened. So I'm out on my own.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you had used that. You had tried to use that at the hospital, and it's not a surprise that they absolutely said no way, because they also aren't taught anything other than what they want, and what the pharma and the healthcare system, what they want them to know and not know, right? Because they know that if they teach the doctors how to really heal people, then they're not going to have clients.
Right.
Yeah. So, so tell me more about the using the oils, because I know that you had made a concoction for me about balancing hormones and things like that. So, what can you use? What are you able to do with these oils?
Everything. I mean, the oils, again, they're not just pretty smells. A lot of people are like, oh, that's so pretty. It smells nice. But they actually have they're able to change the chemistry in your brain. They're able to change the chemistry in your blood. Again, you have to use them safely, because they can, you think, oh, well, it's just an essential oil, so more isn't necessarily better. But they do have the ability, like the blend that I made you, helps with hormone balance. The oils have been actually proven to do that. So that one is a blend of lavender, rose, clary sage, and frankincense, again, these oils have properties that can, I make my own cleaning spray. And I use essential oils, that help to kill germs, to help kill viruses, bacteria, funguses. I use lavender a lot for relaxation. I know it's always a go-to for a lot of people. I've used that, put a little bit on a cotton ball, put it in my pillowcase, helps me sleep, helps to relax people. I love to use ylang-ylang for anxiety. If anybody has anxiety, that's a good oil just to help take away that, that
Which one?
stress. Ylang-ylang. And these oils come from from the flowers, from the rinds of fruit, come from trees, from plants. So and they're very concentrated. So you only need really a little bit. Peppermint and ginger are really good for nausea. I remember my father had colon cancer, and he was going through chemo. And I made him a little inhaler with, and that was the only thing he would use. I suggested a lot of things, but he wasn't ready. But he used the stick to help with the nausea with the ginger and the peppermint. And he actually admitted and was, that it worked.
Was that
Wow.
doTERRA?
Yeah, so tell us about what the grades are, because I know there's pharmaceutical grade, and then there's just essential oils like doTERRA and Young Living and those kind of things. So tell us the differences with these oils.
Well, I mean, Young Living and doTERRA are therapeutic grade oils. What you want is the therapeutic grade oil. So a lot of times you'll go to Walmart or Target, or I don't want to, start naming names of places, but you'll go to a certain store and you'll look at, and it'll say essential oils. But if it's not a trusted brand and a therapeutic grade, then, a lot of them are filled with chemicals and I mean, I know they are chemicals, but they're filled with harmful chemicals and fillers and stuff like that. So if you're buying most of the essential oils you buy from a pharmacy or just like a regular store like that are not going to be therapeutic grade. I love Elizabeth Van Buren, I think is a very good oil. The Young Living, again, they are therapeutic grade, and the doTERRA are therapeutic grade essential oils. They are both, I still believe, network marketing companies. So, if you don't want to get involved in that, I do love Elizabeth Van Buren is a good, so again, you just need to be careful that you're not buying your essential oils from a non-reputable source, because then they're not therapeutic grade and they're not necessarily going to give you the results that you want.
Okay. Was there anything that you've used that you feel like blew your mind, that it was something that the oils could do? Anything like that you think people should know about?
I mean, the oils are extremely powerful, and I think that they're, underrated. Like, people think, oh, it's just an essential oil and it just smells good. I mean, I can tell you a funny story. I was working. I worked the night shift a lot, right? So, and I was always bringing my essential oils with me. And we were working one night, and there was a nurse there who had asthma. And all of a sudden, she started to have an asthma attack. She was like having labored breathing, right? So I said, all right, take your shoes off, give me your feet. So I took one drop, because you don't want to use a lot. And I put a drop of eucalyptus and I mixed it with a carrier oil. You always want to use a carrier oil. because they're very
Concentrated.
So you don't want, you got to be careful on your skin and stuff like that, so you don't wind up with redness or itching or whatever. Anyway, so there are pressure points on the bottom of your feet that correlate with your lungs. So I said, give me your feet, let me massage this into, and of course, one of the other nurses is like, you're going to make her asthma worse, and she's going to have to go to the ER and be in, she's going to go into anaphylactic shock. And I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go. Anyway, so I massage her feet, and like 10 minutes later, she's actually breathing a lot easier. She didn't have to go to the ER. She didn't have to go get meds. She was able to finish her shift, whether she wanted to or not. But that pretty much blew my mind, because, part of me was like, oh crap, like I hope,
Yep.
I hope this works out and I don't cause her. Because, when that other nurse said that, I was like, oh, I started to second guess myself, and I was like,
Yeah.
I hope that I don't cause more problems, because here I am in the hospital doing these things in the middle of the night, anyway. But her asthma, like it totally opened up her airway, between the eucalyptus and the pressure points on the bottom of her feet. So that definitely was an awakening experience, because I was like, see, it does work.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
that was really cool. That was cool for sure.
Wow. Well, I know for me, one of the things that I don't know if it's called essential oil, if you could consider this an essential oil, but would you consider oregano oil an essential oil?
Yeah, oregano oil is an essential oil. Oregano oil is one of those hot oils. So you do have to be very careful with that, because it will burn and cause, irritation. But yes, I mean, therapeutic grade oregano. People do ingest that. I've ingested it myself.
Yep.
Again, this is not medical advice. But this is from my own experience, that I've used that. Like when I start getting sick, I'll put a drop or two of oregano essential oil in my water, to help. It's kind of like a natural antibiotic. It just helps get rid of, viruses and bacteria, and boosts the immune system. So, yeah.
Well, I did want to mention an oregano oil, because I sometimes I take it, and there was this boy that was doing a science project at school, and his mom always brought him up in essential oils, not using medicine. And he wanted to show people that oregano oil was just as powerful as the regular antibiotic. And the teacher, of course, blew him off, and she was like, yeah, whatever. So he does this study, and he does this study with 3 drops of oregano oil, and it killed way more bacteria than the antibiotic did. So the teacher couldn't believe it, and she had him do it again, but with just 1 drop of oregano oil. And the 1 drop of oregano oil still killed way more bacteria. Actually, it killed all the bacteria in the Petri dish. So the teacher was just flabbergasted. She couldn't believe it. So to me, oregano oil would be something that I feel is something that people should know about, because whenever I feel there's a bacterial infection or anything going on in my body, I go buy the pills, the oregano oil pills at the health food store. So I don't know. I just felt like it was oils are so incredibly amazing. So just know that they're out there, and that they can do so much more than medicine can. So there is a lot to study there. And of course, we wouldn't be able to cover all of it here, but any other oils that you can think of like that are just like earth shattering, like they can really heal things?
I've used clove, and I've had other people use clove essential oil for toothache. So, you get that toothache, and of course you can't get into your dentist or whatever And so you put a drop of clove oil on your finger and put it on that tooth. Number one, it'll help to kill any kind of infection in there. And then it also helps with the pain. So that is, can be a lifesaver, especially if, you have if you have tooth pain, that's, can be pretty nasty. So that the clove essential oil is really, really good for that. And again, the oregano oil, if you, start to have an upset stomach, like you feel like you may have gotten food poisoning or something like that, that oregano oil can help with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that one of our viewers said coconut oil. Coconut oil, I use it for oil pulling for my teeth at night so that I don't get tartar and I don't get like bacteria buildup, at night when I sleep. Oil pulling is like ages old, that a lot of people do from India. And I think it's part of our Ayurveda, right? So Pauline says, I have used 1 drop oregano oil with 2 dessert spoons of sunflower oil in the mouth, oil pulling for 4 minutes. Oh, wow. That's brave. Because that oregano oil, I've had it in the dropper full and it burned like my mouth. It's so strong and so powerful. Yeah. Wow. And there was another oil that came to mind that I thought was really important too. Castor oil. Castor oil is absolutely incredible, but with all the things that it can do. It can, if you look up Barbara O'Neill, you can do, it gets rid of so many things. Like I could go on, but if you're constipated, put a drop of castor oil in your belly button overnight. It'll fix it. What else? It reduces corns, like the bones that grow in the feet that are hard. It will make them smaller, reduce them, or even get rid of them. It will, if you do like a liver compress of castor oil, it will literally just heal your liver. It's miraculous. So definitely look up castor oil as well. It's quite amazing. So anyway, okay, so that's it for today. That went by fast. Thank you so much, Jen. Is there anything that you want to tell people either about what you do now or anything else before we go?
I mean, I'm living my dream life. I would say again, just follow your dream, follow your passion. If you had told me 5 years ago that this is what I'd be doing, I don't think I would have believed it. But I'm so blessed that I'm able to share, my gifts and knowledge as a holistic nurse, and provide these sound healings for people. Again, it's a dream come true. So I just urge people to follow their dreams. And if you do get a chance, I highly recommend going to Dr. Joe Dispenza workshop, a week long, because he never disappoints. He opened my eyes, to a whole different life, and truly grateful.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jen, for coming today. I'm so grateful. And thank you to everybody who's watched us, watched our video. Thank you so much. If you can, give us a like or subscribe. And stay, as I say on my other show, stay high vibing, and don't worry about the movie that's going on out there. Just stay in your high vibing, and just be as happy as you can.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.